Welcome back. What I have behind me is my most recent parts car pickup. This does in fact have an S52 in it, no ZF, but we are gonna try and get this S52 back to life, get some power to the car, see if we can't get this thing to crank over and start. It has been a very long time since this car has been on the road. Last registered in 2018. Before I get all the comments, this car is not going back on the road. It is going to be dismantled. There is a major paperwork discrepancy, amongst other things. This thing is sun-baked. It is just not worth putting back on the road. So we're gonna take it apart, but before we do that, I would like to see if I can't get this thing running. Alright, first and foremost, this thing doesn't have a battery in it. So what I am going to do is put a dead battery, or pretty dead battery, and then just put the tender on it so we can get constant power to the car and troubleshoot from there. Speaking of dead batteries, the drift car just decided that its battery was dead today. So I'm gonna take the battery tender and set that car rather, with a battery and get some power to it. Alright, so I did not do a voltage test on this battery prior, but I didn't remember it being dead. Hopefully we'll get some voltage to this, and if that doesn't work, I have another one I can throw in. I don't know too much about this car. I just know that it's got an S52 in it and some money to be made here. So long as I can get some things firing up in this car and see what works and what doesn't, we can confidently make sales on stuff. So definitely need to vacuum this out, and the key is conveniently, okay. We do have a little bit of life coming to this thing. All right, so it's got a sticky key position. Clearly we're not getting enough voltage because we're getting hardly anything to turn on here. All right, somehow, some way, everything needs a battery in here. Drift car jumping this car because I can't get enough voltage to this through the tender. It just won't get it up past like 6 volts. But as you can see, we have power. But all the windows go down apart from this one. You can see we got stuff going on in here. Climate control works. The OBC down here looks like the display's kind of messed up. And then I cannot get an exact number on the mileage. So everything else in the cluster seems to work so far. All right, it's a whole nother week. I finally have time to get back to this M3. I actually just scrapped last weekend the E90 that I had, that coincidentally had kind of the same thing, same problem I should say, but of course on E9X generations, it's mainly a software thing that I don't have the programming for, so I could never get power to that car. Could not get the car to crank or start over. But with this car, I'm gonna try and make it somewhat informative. This is EWS2. There's a lot of variants of EWS. I believe there's actually 3. I will link everything that I use to hopefully get this car started down below. And one of those resources will be a EWS bulletin where it goes over pretty much every EWS system and the differences between them. This is the more intricate, the more refined version of EWS, so it's a little bit more complicated. This thing is freaking gross. So you can see we have a bunch of stuff up underneath the dash that is not OEM, so we will have to decipher. Well, actually it's looking pretty easy, but I think what happened is this thing had an aftermarket alarm system in it, and that is preventing us from actually starting the car. I did attempt to start this car when I bought it, when I had full voltage to it with the jump pack, so I know that getting voltage to the car won't be an issue. I swear I end up seeing more of these cars with aftermarket alarms than the original. So yeah, we'll have to mess with that. This is also a OBD2 E36 M3, which is something I rarely get my hands on. We may have a little bit more ability to kind of look around on this thing, but I am not too entirely sure. Actually, it looks like we're unplugged down there, which I don't know why they would have done that. So I'm gonna inspect that. We'll start plugging some stuff back in, see if we can get this car to kind of give us some more hints on where to go from here. I'm going to finish vacuuming this thing though, because it is filthy and I don't want to sit in this with it being any more dirty than it has to be. So I'm gonna get these carpets, some of this one. I was gonna take the seats out, but I think I'm gonna wait until I figure out what I'm doing with the car, or if I can get it to run, because I'll be in and out of here and having a seat will be nice. So let's get back to getting this thing cleaned up. I'm going to do a bypass really quick and see if I can at least get the car to crank. This is only proving that I can get the car to crank, because this car had an aftermarket alarm. If I can't get this car to crank, I basically am just going to chase down all of the aftermarket wiring and try and undo what was done. But yeah, let me try and get access to bypassing EWS so we can at least send signal to the starter and see if we can get that to crank in the third position. Okay. Goddamn fucking Honda Civics. All right, so as you can see, this connector here is actually for the EWS. This hangs out right there below the blue. And what we're going to do is, the plan is you have these two thicker wires. We're just going to jump those two pins and see if we can't bypass the module itself. So I have this guy, just a paper clip wedged in those two pins, jumping them together. So we should have bypassed the module itself, I believe, just to send signal to the starter, just to get this car to crank. We're not going to have EWS communicating with the DME to actually start the car. Let's go get this thing some power and see if she'll crank up. All right, as suspected, we at least have the thing cranking. Okay, so let's talk about this situation. I am nearly positive the car will start at this moment, because I went ahead and remove the rest of the wiring. This is a Clifford IntelliStar Aero 3, and at this moment it's all out of the car. You can see there's a ton of modules, and basically this ties into the car's ignition, directly into the ring ignition tumbler, the two green wires. There is a box, this one here, which splices directly into that. So all I had to do was rip all of this out and chase where most of the stuff went. A lot of the stuff was actually already disconnected by the previous owner, but it wasn't fully removed from the car. So at this moment, this was what was holding everything up. Because we bypassed the EWS with a paperclip, pins 1 and 3, and we verified that the car would crank, I then made sure that the ignition switch was good to go. So good to go meaning you can see kind of, we have these green wires that go from the actual key ring to the ignition switch, and that little module was tied into that, And that's all I had to do. I just put a little wire in there to jump it. You can see they're not even. Okay, so truthfully, this oil looks like shit. And it's low on oil. And I have some old, this has probably been sitting for several years, but it's got to be better than what's in there. Some high mileage Valvoline. This oil looks really bad. My biggest fear at this moment is that we have some condensation or water sitting at the bottom. The only reason I suspect that is because the engine is wet. The other thing, hopefully this will show up. I don't know if that's, I hate this camera. But there is some rust on this dipstick. Now, I'm not sure if that's just because this thing has sat for literally 10 years. And it's just some condensation built up. Either way, I'm not like super excited about running this engine. It's kind of a dilemma here because this car is going to be parted out, completely disassembled, and I'm of course keeping the S52 out of it to either sell it or put it in the drift car or whatever, so long as it's good. And even if it's bad, I'll be pulling it for parts anyways. So the cash cow in this whole E36 M3 situation is the S52. But again, I want to just see if this thing turns over and will actually run on its own. So I don't necessarily want to flush all fluids and do all that right now. If I have to, I will. To some of you, that may sound lazy, but from my perspective and point of view, I need compression numbers and leak down numbers. If this thing is clicking and clacking and I can't run it up to temp to get solid leak down and compression numbers, then I will pop the valve cover off and we'll go from there. The other alarming thing, but I mean, if the car is sat for 10 years, this is to be expected. This coolant is a sight for sore eyes. Let's see, what is all that shit in there? I don't know. The coolant literally looks like someone vomited in the overflow, so I don't know. That's another thing. I'm not gonna flush that out. I'm sure whatever's in there has been running through this engine for the time it was running anyways. I'm not gonna worry about the coolant right now. Check the level. I don't know if the camera picks up. That oil's pretty gross. To be expected. It actually smells fine, so we'll see. I'm sure if we can get this thing to start, there's going to be quite a bit of valve train noise just because it has been sitting for a long time. But I think that we'll be able to kind of nurse it back to health. If that's the route that I end up going, I'm not really too concerned, but I should probably just shut up and start it and see if we got like something crazy like rod knock or God forbid anything else. So let's give it a shot. All right, back on the GoPro. I can seriously not suggest that you buy one of these ever. All right, so this is the Noco I just picked up. Always heard great things about this compact little jump starter, and sure enough, it's able to provide power to the car. But what we're gonna do is put this thing on the tender first, and then we'll put the jump pack on it. Somehow, some way, if we can find a way to mount this somewhere on the battery. Luckily these things like stretch out a ton, which is cool. God damn it. This one can hang out right here. All right, turn that guy on. Start charging up that battery. This thing should hopefully start. I mean, here goes nothing. All right. In park, let's just give it another shot. Wow. Holy shit. Thing started right up. Dang. I'm gonna hook the scanner up and see what codes we can get out of this car, but pretty much no lights, which is pretty impressive. This car's been sitting for a very long time, so I'm gonna hook the scanner up and we'll see. I'm gonna just let it run. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and give code scanning this car a try just to see what it comes up with. I can't really give this car throttle without it wanting to die, but that could be a million different things, especially because it has 0 fuel in it right now. Yeah, I've never needed to actually go through a OBD2 E36. I just haven't owned enough of them. I've had mainly see what misfire, fuel trim, that makes sense. Secondary air, okay, whatever. Okay, cat codes, O2. Okay, I'm not gonna worry about basically any of this right now, and I'm gonna go ahead and clear the codes and see what comes back. I don't know if this thing will start again. It has no fuel in it. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Right back to it. You really gotta put gas in this thing. See if the check engine light comes back. It's running good. I'm not listening to any misfires, so hopefully those don't come back. I'm sure, of course, the cat codes in the secondary air pump, you can hear it whining, so that will probably come back. Okay, gas light's back. Surprise, surprise. One thing you'll notice is we don't have mileage. So let me see if I can't squeeze this thing. Okay. Strangely, we just don't have mileage, which is rather unfortunate. Everything works aside from down there. I'm wondering if we just have burnt bulbs. That's a possibility. Can we give it gas? Is it gonna die? I'm half tempted to put some gas in this car and drive it around the shop. Should I do it? Should I do it? I'm doing it. Alright, it actually runs way better than I thought it would for sitting as long as it has. I was not able to get the car throttle. Every time I give it throttle, it would want to die out. I plugged the scanner in. So yeah, it's literally just catalytic converter, secondary air pump, and O2 sensors, which, right, we can all just chalk up to emissions, which won't prevent this car from running and driving. And it had a lot of stored misfire codes. I deleted those. It is not misfiring, so I'm gonna put it on the ground and see if we can't just drive it around the shop really quick. Just gonna give it a shot here. What's the worst that could happen? The thing's running. Just gonna. Okay, let's see what we get here. Gosh, starts right up. Okay, let's see what we get here. Fix my seating position here. It's in park. OBC does not really work. Just see what we can do here. fix some stuff for the thumbnail here. Yep. Thing kind of sounds like a tractor, not gonna lie, up front. Dude, if we have reverse, I'm going to be fucking shocked. Oh, we have movement. No way. Wait. Dude, no fucking way. I could do donuts in this right now. This is hilarious. Oh my god, dude, this thing's a pile of shit. Dude, what the fuck? This thing, it's fine. This thing's a runner, dude. This thing will fucking do donuts right now. That's fucking hilarious. Oh, should we try and do a burnout? This is fucking hilarious. Okay, it started missing at the end, not even missing, just kind of like fumbling, stumbling out. I think that is only because we're low on gas, so I'm going to fill it up with some 91 that's been sitting in the bed of my truck for probably too long. And we'll see if we can at least get the gas light to go off. And the thing is too, is it's responsive enough that I would drive this car on a public road. So long as I check the brakes out and everything, I think that it would be fine to drive. Fine as in, you shouldn't do it, but you could, I guess. Alright, well, as you can see, the car runs, it drives. Kind of crazy, but it does. I wish the end of the story for this car was a little different than it is, but it is what it is. But let me know if you guys like these will it run videos. I really wish that this one was a little bit more entertaining, but the car didn't need much. All I had to do was undo some of the alarm wiring, put some power to it, put some oil in it, and the thing fired right up, as it should. These old cars are tanks, especially these old M5X and S5X engines. You just can't beat them. So I'm gonna close the video out here. I got a lot of work to do on this thing. Gotta pull some compression numbers, do a leak down test on all 6 cylinders. If you like this video, make sure to let me know down below. And subscribe to the channel, share it, do whatever you can to help get this video out there. Help it be seen, and you know, at the end of the day, that kind of stuff does help me get stuff like this. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. See you in the next one. Peace.